My name is Renae Bruce-Miller. I am an entrepreneur, a domestic violence prevention advocate, and a survivor of narcissistic personality disorder, as well as an author. And I have been getting a lot of questions about staying with your narcissist. And I wanted to talk about this today because the topic that I covered in my book about malignant narcissism is it really gets in depth to a lot of the details and why it's not a good idea to stay with your narcissist. It's not a good idea to stay with anyone who demeans you, who undermines you, who makes you feel inferior in any way. And I just wanted to do this little video to give you some insight to what staying with your narcissist is like and what leaving your narcissist is like. And so I'm going to cover a lot of different issues, whether that narcissist is your parent or whether it's a sibling or a lover. So I'm just going to give you a straight talk on really what that's about. The other thing that I also wanted to talk about was the misleading information that's out there. If you can afford to leave, you should leave. And as you'll see, as I discuss further down, you're going to see that you don't need a lot of money to leave. You are a creation of God. You have been put here on this planet. Everything around you is materialistic. It's, if it's a car, a house, you can walk out of that and go and find a new life. I've done it more than once, and I'm not telling you it's easy, but what I am telling you is you're valued so much more than that. And I don't want you to undermine yourself or devalue yourself and stay with someone and pay for therapy because you think that's the best that you can do. So let's get into it. Despite all of my successes in business, I have gone through a tremendous amount of private, abuse, domestic violence, shame, things of that nature. And I just, I was delaying doing a video because I didn't want to use that as my identity. But the truth of the matter is, this isn't about me, it's about you. It's about you and the things that I have gone through and how I could use them to help you to get to a better place and to be a better person. Because narcissism, malignant narcissism, I'm not talking about people who are self-centered or always talking about themselves. I'm not talking about that kind of narcissism, which all of us have that tendency to be about me, especially in society today. What I want to talk about is people who, malignant narcissism, narcissistic personality disorder, which is completely different from just self-centeredness. The reason why I want to talk about that today in particular, not just because it's a topic that I cover in my book, but also in the fact that there is a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of false information that's saying, oh, you can stay with your abuser, you can you can survive by living with your narcissist, and there are ways of doing that if you remain in therapy. And when I hear that kind of information, I kind of cringe, because most of the people who advocate that you can stay in a relationship with a malignant narcissist have never been in a relationship with a malignant narcissist. They don't understand what you're sleeping with, what you're eating with, and the clawing, gnawing things that they do, the gaslighting, the lying, the manipulation, the cheating, and all of these things, and they think you can go through that. Now, I also talk about this in the book specifically because when you can't really definitively pinpoint a person's behavior and say, aha, that's what they're doing, that's what they're doing to me, I know they're gaslighting me, I know they're playing games. when you can't definitively identify that, and you're going through this experience where you're continually being put down and your self-esteem is being cut down and everything that you have accomplished is just dragged underfoot, when you don't know what that is and you internalize that and you blame yourself, you are going through a dark tunnel. And then there is, at the end of that tunnel, there is a point where you actually realize that it's not you, it's the person. And that experience of going through blaming yourself to now identifying that this is the person who is lying to you, this is the cause and the source of my low self-esteem, this is the cause and the source of my why I feel like garbage every day, because I have someone telling me in many little shisty and sneaky ways that I'm nothing but garbage. So what I want to say primarily is, you know, no one should stay in any situation, but when you do identify that you are dealing with a malignant narcissist, you're dealing with someone who is cheating, lying, scheming, plotting, and planning your demise at every beck and turn. Every conversation is about stripping you down and breaking you down. You can't stay with that. You really cannot stay with that, because every morsel, every fiber of your being that you're going to need to step out of that, you are losing it every single day. And it's like drip, 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 drip. So, you know, I get very perturbed when I hear people marketing the idea of staying. Now, if, like many of us, when you're in a relationship with someone, you have a lot of ties. You have your businesses, you have your house, you have your vehicle, your insurance, a lot of things. You can't just, you know, untangle that overnight. And what I'm going to say is you really have to come up with a strategy. You have to come up with a plan. You have to come up with a date. You have to say, by Christmas, I am going to be out of this situation. And now you have a deadline. You have between now and Christmas to say, I'm going to be out of this, and on day one, this is what I'm going to be doing. So you have to, you know, you have to be proactive and work backwards towards that goal of leaving. When you're in that kind of relationship and you know, and that's the pain, is the knowing, and then the you know, the blaming. So you're going through two stages of you know, of knowing. First you blame yourself because you see something happening but you don't know what it is, and then when you do know, you still blame yourself because you're saying, how did I let this happen to me? And if it's happened to you, or in my case where my mother is a malignant narcissist, you know, borderline personality disorder, cluster B, all of that, you know, just combined in one person. And then I moved into a relationship with someone who was malignant narcissistic and extraordinarily abusive, and I had to end that relationship in court. So what I'm saying to you is, when you know what is happening to you, you are going to feel guilt and you're going to feel shame on top of the other things that they're going to put you through on a daily basis. So there's no staying with your narcissist, or there is no trying to keep together for the children, because malignant narcissism is also learned behavior. And so as your children are growing up, they're learning these things. You teach them how to walk, you teach them how to talk, you teach them how to behave, you teach them how to treat others. And when you're in a relationship with a malignant narcissist, you're also going to see that the child starts to behave similarly, self-centered, and very, you know, very possessive and controlling. And so I know it's hard, and if you're out there and if you're watching this, it's very hard. I had to leave my situation, and then I ended up with my mother. And as an adult, being with my mother and a 2-year-old child, well, we were one when we went to my mother, and I was isolated. I was abused, financially abused, manipulated in more ways than I can say. And I had no way out of that situation. I had no savings. I had no money. I lost my apartment while being there. So everything that I lost, or everything that went away from me, kind of gave my mother more power and control over me. And I set a date to say, I'm going to be out by the spring. I'm going to be out by, when the first snow dries up off the ground, I'm going to leave. I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know what I was going to do. I tried to find jobs from that situation, because I was in North Carolina, rural North Carolina. We had no public transportation. I had no vehicle of my own. I could only go where my mother took me, which was to Walmart once a month. So essentially, I was trapped in a situation that I couldn't really get out of on my own. And the long and short of it is, I realized that my daughter was going to go through something similar if I stayed. My daughter had formed attachments and bonds with my mother, and I had to really look at where my what was I presenting to her. And I don't think I was presenting the best version of myself to my daughter. I don't think I was presenting an example of self-respect, of me. I don't think I was providing that for her. So in any way, I counted backwards. I knew I wanted to leave by spring, March, April, around that time, but I had no money. So I wrote the book while I was actually still in the situation, but I wrote the book from a position of empowerment rather than a victim of victimhood. I wrote it from the position of a survivor rather than, oh, woe is me, look what happened to me. So that anyone who bought the book or picked up the book years to come could open a page and feel 10 million times stronger just by reading one chapter, and they could get through their day. Because that's what I had to do. I had to get through my day. I had to get through what was happening, the peeling away of my self-esteem, the peeling away of my identity, the peeling away of my person, the peeling away of my voice, the peeling away of all of those things, all the accomplishments that I had earned before going there. I was just, those things could not exist in the same house, in the same environment with my mother. And so it was conflicting for me, because where my mother lived, we lived in a beautiful place. I mean, it was surrounded by lakes, there were geese, there was just every beautiful creature you could imagine, and it's the kind of place anyone would want to raise their child or a young child. And it was just purely magical for my daughter. And I had to weigh, what am I leaving her to? What am I taking her out of to take her to? Am I going to take her into more abuse? Am I taking her into better or worse? And, no jobs materialized. The book, the book sales weren't going anywhere because I wasn't talking to anyone. I just wrote the book, put it out on Amazon, and, went and hid. And I didn't really have any resources of my own. So what I did was I took out credit cards, and, to the detriment of my credit, and I borrowed some money, and I left. I just left. Total in everything that I had in cash was about $300, and that was able to buy us a Greyhound ticket, get some food. It it took a lot of planning. It wasn't like overnight, oh, I'm going to leave tomorrow. It took a lot of planning, a lot of decisive planning. And I knew I kept calling shelters and there was no space anywhere. And when I left, what I did was I actually, for the first night, I took an Airbnb just to get my bearings, to catch my bearings in the new state that I went to. And from there, I actually left from that Airbnb and I went to a shelter. And it's hard, it's rough, but I knew I wasn't there to stay. I knew I was going somewhere. I had a place that I had envisioned in my mind. I used my imagination to determine exactly where I was going, what I was going to do. I knew where I wanted to be, and I knew it wasn't going to be there. So for me, it just took biting the bullet and really knowing exactly what direction I wanted to go. I knew that I wasn't designed to be a shelter, to live in a shelter, and I just had to look at what other options were out there for me. And a part of that was definitely just leaving the situation, was definitely just going through what I was doing instead of just saying, oh, I'm helpless, I'm powerless. I knew I had power. I knew I had power because I had proven to myself multiple times that God or the Creator or, my guardian angel, I knew that that spiritual guide had brought me through so many other things prior. And so what was painful was taking my daughter through the homeless system. It's no joke. Where women and children are, after you sleep there at night, you have to be out by 9 in the morning, and it doesn't matter if you have a job or not, you just can't be there. And then, when you get back there at night, you have to take off all your clothes and put them in the hot box or the dryer to kill bed bugs. And you have no kitchen, you have no way of taking care of yourself. And it just kind of, I knew I was going to go through it rough. I've never been in a shelter before, but I knew I didn't have the resources to really help myself up. And I want to stop here and also talk about friendship. If you're going to leave your narcissist, you have to create bonds with people who respect you, who love you, who know you, who understand you. And I had one such person, and I actually moved to where she lived. She didn't have the accommodations for me, but I wanted to be around her because I had depended on her, her support and her guidance. And so I moved to a city that had great transportation, that had a support system of someone who has been there for me throughout the years. And so, little bit by bit, I left North Carolina on April the 20th. That's April the 20th of 2018. By June the 20th, that's April, May, June, I was blessed with a 2-bedroom apartment, one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen or had the privilege of living in. It's just amazing. I don't know if I still have pictures, but I'm, before I started to decorate, but I'll post some of those. I'll see if I have them. But the truth of the matter is, you have to have faith. You have to have strong faith, and you have to be willing to step into the unknown. You have to have the ability to know that it's there out there for you, that this can't be it. you know. And what's one of the things that I always say is that you can only leave a situation when you realize that this is not the best that you can do. When God created you, or you were designed or sent to this planet, you were not sent to this planet to be abused. You weren't sent here to be taken advantage of. You weren't sent here to be lied to. You weren't sent here to be manipulated and gaslighted and confused and to be controlled. That's not why you are here. And I'm speaking to you on a strength that I just found that strength probably January. And I was in my kitchen and I was just thinking about the things, my mom's kitchen, I was just thinking about the things that she had done and she had said. And I felt a kind of anger in me. And I said to myself, all I know is abuse. That's all I know. I mean, I have my business successes and accolades and things like that. But I mean, in my personal life, all I know is abuse. And, you know, I finally heard the voice of God that said, aha, all you know is abuse. You know what people are going through. You know what's happening. All you know is abuse, and I'm going to use you. And, you know, I tried running away from it. I mean, I've had many opportunities to make videos, to talk about things, and I just didn't want to get here where I was dragging out the monster in the sunlight and exposing it to, you know, what's happening. There's real ugliness in the world. There is real evil in the world. But I'm also going to tell you that there is also a lot of beauty in the world. There is a lot of wonderful people in the world. There are lots of kind people, sweet, generous, and sincere people who mean you no harm, who just want to see the best for you. And I have been fortunate to have those people in spades. I've been fortunate to have those people who have spent time with me, who worked with me, who can say, okay, this girl, she is as solid as a rock. And you want to build those bonds. You want to nurture those bonds. And if you need help, you have to ask for it. You know, there are lots of resources out there, but I'm also going to tell you to talk to people at the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Talk to people at the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. You know, if you find yourself in a position where you're isolated, where all you're hearing and all you're seeing is abuse, 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 just remember that there is another way. I mean, as dark as that is, there's also light. As painful as that is, the opposite of that is joy. There is hurt where that is, and the opposite of that is healing. And it's just you to have the faith and trust in God, trust in whatever you believe in, trust in your children. You know, at one point I had to look at my daughter and say, okay, it's fine that this happened to you. It happened to you. If you want to live like this, go right on ahead. But she deserves better. That's what I told myself. And so I got out of that situation. Now, many of you are going to say, well, yeah, what about when you're leaving your husband? I also, as I said earlier, that I had to leave a situation with a partner, with an intimate partner, and that was a little bit messier. So I don't take anything from anyone who has children. I don't take anything from anyone who sees it where it's not feasible. But I can tell you this, that if you make the plan, if you think in your mind that there is better out there for you, and you step towards it, I'm telling you, the universe, the creator, whatever you want to call it, will step back to you.
I'm telling you, the oceans will part for you. Beauty will come into your life, love will come into your life, happiness will come into your life, peace will come into your life if you give yourself the chance. And you can't do that if you're with someone, spending all your money going to therapy, you know, for every time that you get around this person, for them to peel it back down, for them to beat you back down into the ground. So, you know, that's what my message is about today, is just nurturing you, loving you. And if you're in that situation, I'm going to tell you this: find little joys, find little things to make yourself happy. Is it floral arranging? Whatever it is it yoga? Find little things. And, you know, while I was with my intimate partner who was abusive, what I did in the end is I shifted my energy. Whatever energy I was giving him, I shifted it to me. And while I was in that situation, I developed a mobile app. I developed a trading platform. I built relationships with trading partners all over the world. I did consultative services for people as far away as Japan and Dubai. So I'm telling you that, you know, you have to shift the energy, but at some point you have to leave, because for everything that you know, it's like planting a corn, okay? I'm originally from Jamaica, so if you're from like the islands or somewhere tropical, you'll get this analogy that you put your corn in the ground, and you know, a chicken will come by and scratch the corn and eat the corn. And that's the exact same thing that you have with a malignant narcissist, is your self-esteem, your self-respect, your gratitude, your peace is that little corn. It's that little kernel, and you put it in the ground where the narcissist is the chicken, and they just come by and scratch away at it and take it away. And tomorrow you have to come up with another corn. You know, who can live like that? You know, but while he's doing that, while they're doing these things to you, you look ahead. Look ahead. I mean, if you're in your 20s, you have so much life ahead of you. If you're in your 40s, you have so much life ahead of you. If you're 60s, you've got life left in you. If you're in your 80s, you've got life left in you. Someone out there in this world needs you. Someone out there in this world loves you. Someone out there in this world wants to love you. But we can't get to you if you're behind that wall. We can't get to you unless you take your hand in your own hand and have faith and step out in that, and just know that whatever it is that's coming your way, it will be handled. Whatever it is, whatever the obstacle is that you're going through, you will survive it. So that's just what I wanted this video to be about today. I'm going to do more. I'm thinking of doing like you know, a chapter of each book, of the book, sorry. So doing a video on each chapter to really talk about what's discussed, so that you can have it to listen to, you can have it to just for your information, to just help you through whatever it is that you're going through, to empower you and give you some strength. So if you want to see me do that, this is my very first video that's, you know, not about business or not about like work. So just, you know, subscribe, leave a comment, send a message. You can also visit my website at https://victimwarfare.com. That's victim warfare, WARFARE.com. So I hope to, you know, get some feedback and hear some interactions, and you have a blessed day, and thank you so much for listening. And whatever it is that you're going through, whether you're in the relationship with a narcissist or whether you've left the relationship with a narcissist, you are so much better off without that person, and you are blessed and loved. Thank you.